is Casey Hall, also known as Pirate Software Online.
We just want there to be prohibit publishers from disabling a game that you paid for.
Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable, which is normal to live service games.
He changed what we were saying the initiative is about, and he completely made up saying that it was about trying to protect single-player games. So that is an advanced tactic that he pulled.
Pirate Software is a creator that is no stranger to controversy. I actually did a video on him quite a while ago talking about this huge drama he was involved in. But recently, unfortunately, he's found himself in some more drama regarding the movement Stop Killing Games. I do want to say as well, the merch shop is now open, so if you want to grab yourself some exclusive limited time merch, especially from the new Server Blight video on the main channel, the link is in the description or on screen. Now, there's one thing that is more scummy than any kind of crypto shiller, and that usually is a video game company. So you might have noticed with video games there has been a very fast escalation to try to make as much money out of you as possible. We don't really have new games anymore. We've got remakes, remasters, but more importantly, loot boxes, in-game transactions. And one of my personal favorite things now, for some reason, you pay like $100 to basically be able to play the game 2 days before everyone else can play it. I call that a streamer tax. I will die on that hill, but genuinely that is one of the most stupid things imaginable, especially because, you know, like, let's go back 5-10 years ago, special editions, deluxe editions, usually got some pretty cool stuff. I mean, yeah, okay, there were skins. There were always skins. Look at Oblivion with its horse armor. That was always a thing, fair enough. But now it really shows that companies like Blizzard and EA, they are just so obsessed with turning a profit and making as much money as possible, while probably innovating as little as possible as well. I know I'm naming the big names here, but there are so many gaming companies out there that do not want to innovate. They wish they could just get you as like a little rat running on a wheel over and over, squeezing that dopamine out of you without having to actually do anything, and you keep handing over your credit card to buy some in-game currency every single time. Now, I have heard of the buzzword Stop Killing Games, but I never really looked into it too much, but it seems to be the main focus behind it, of kind of like sticking it to the man and trying to stop these huge monolithic companies just doing whatever they want. But despite the intentions sounding quite noble, not everyone is actually on board with it, especially one of the streamers, Pirate Software. Now, Stop Killing Games, or the acronym SKG, is actually an initiative set up and spearheaded by the YouTuber Accursed Farms. If you know the channel Accursed Farms, you are a certified old head. If you don't, he's most known for this incredibly long-running machinima series called Freeman's Mind. The first episode came out 11 years ago, and it's basically a playthrough of Half-Life 1, Accursed Farms takes over it in the perspective of Gordon Freeman. Deus Ex Human Revolution, and also Deus Ex Invisible War, the console one that everyone absolutely hates. I mean, I swear, like, I remember playing Deus Ex Invisible War as a kid. I did not have a problem with that game. I thought it was really cool, but I was also like 12 years old, and at that age, you're basically impressed by anything. So basically, Accursed Farms started this movement, Stop Killing Games. He was the one to establish it. I mean, a lot of people have been feeling like this for a long time, but he was the first person to actually give a title to the movement. So the entire point of Stop Killing Games, as Accursed Farm quotes, a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games that they have sold to customers. Now, the Stop Killing Games movement did actually get quite a lot of traction. At the minute, the European Citizens Initiative alone has nearly 500,000 signatures, and that is an insane movement. Because if you go onto Accursed Farm's channel, you can tell that he's not really a huge YouTuber, especially not anymore, but still, he is creating something, a movement that is a lot bigger than him, because a lot of people support this. They think that companies, especially in the gaming industry, became really greedy and just want maximum profit. I try to give you better experiences with, for example, like item stores and shops. They're just churning out new skins for you to buy to feel special every 24 hours. Now, that was my little tangent on the side. That's not even the main purpose of Stop Killing Games. The main purpose is actually trying to hold video game companies accountable for basically selling games that have a brand obsolescence, trying to buy the next title. This is actually games that have a heavy emphasis on online services, like, for example, Battlefront, Overwatch, Star Wars Battlefront 2, as you've seen recently, has had a player spike, which is really funny because the game is surprisingly competent. It's mostly because, you know, and also Andor ended, and apparently that was a pretty good ending. I actually haven't watched Andor. Apparently it's one of those new Star Wars shows that's competent throughout. There is a guy who said, so I actually watched it. The only problem with Star Wars Battlefront 2 at the minute, because it has such a huge player spike, you don't care about the game whatsoever, so it's full to the brim with hackers. But yeah, one of the biggest problems with online services is game companies will bring out a product, and eventually, over time, which is pretty natural, people lose interest, they move on. But this then reaches the point where the owners basically go, you know what, we'll just shut down the entire service, so now no one gets to play it, even though at the time when the game came out, you probably paid full price for it. One instance I remember of a very popular game actually shutting down its servers was all the way back when Mass Effect 3 came out. We are going back to old head era here, but Mass Effect 3 was basically the first Mass Effect to have any kind of like multiplayer mode. But then they actually enacted something called Sunset Multiplayer, which meant that they were, you know, kind of quietly winding down the servers and you couldn't play the game anymore. Oh no, wait a minute, this was back in 2012. So in fact, the servers for Mass Effect 3 are still up. That Sunset thing I talked about was talking about shutting down the servers on the Nintendo network. So that's basically Nintendo's choice, if anything. I believe that you can actually still play Mass Effect multiplayer to this day, despite the fact that the game came out well over 10 years ago. Now, one example that people won't know here about just being backhanded by a game company is Overwatch. If you bought Overwatch day one, you'd be paying around 40 to 60 pounds. That's American, that's like, about 30 cheeseburgers. And that obviously depends on the version of the game that you got. If you want the super deluxe special edition, you've probably got some gold guns or something. I think you've got, we got Vegas skin. We got Vegas skin. It's a shame that we're not going to play now. Now also keep in mind as well, the first Overwatch has no single player mode attached to it. It's online only. So less than 10 years ago now, like Mass Effect 3, was it decided to shut down the servers of the game. Now I get it, Overwatch is free to play. I'm really happy for you, but there are people that spend so many cheeseburgers buying Overwatch that they basically have nothing to spend for it apart from, oh my god, wow, you know the same people that will brag about that and think it was a worthwhile purchase, the people that are trying to hunt down every single skin in the game. One way, I just it's like 3 skins you get in the game, like playing the game. You know, like 7 or 8 skins that are buying graphics cards. That's not a joke, by the way. It's basically it's just terrible. Like, I get it. Cosmetics, it's amazing. And basing on the fact that good for me. I get to stand out in the game. Unless everyone else buys the skin, then I don't stand out. That means that I can stand out again. I still remember every little Subi was buying that game because she had a fat ass. I mean, if you want to become really, really cynical, get it? I said the word, get it? You don't really own anything. You know, like for example, when you go onto Amazon, when you go onto a streaming service, like you stream a show, you buy a film from Amazon, you're not buying it, it's just tied to your account. And if there's any kind of licensing changes, or you can't, you know, watch this in your own country, tough luck. One really good example I have here, talking more about streaming, and I absolutely despise this, is, for example, HBO Max. They have some great shows, like The Last of Us. I'm sure there's some other stuff on there as well, but the point is, I can't watch Max unless I basically use a VPN and then log into like a friend's account. And then in the UK, we have Max in the UK, but it's called Now TV, which is owned by Sky, Rupert Murdoch and his, like, you know, kind of his children, and they're all from Succession, basically, the cast of Succession. I can watch Max shows through Now TV, but then if I travel to another country, I get region blocks. To the point that even if I have a VPN on and it knows I've got one, then I can't watch the thing that I paid for just because I'm getting a flight to another country. It's just really backwards, really anti-consumer. I also remember this one time as well when the 28 Days Later, the zombie film that's getting another sequel pretty soon, 28 years later, that recently was changing licensing hands. So 28 Days Later, you couldn't find it anywhere. You couldn't find it on any streaming service. And that was gone for about 2 to 3 months, I think. You can find it now on like Disney Plus or Amazon and stuff, but there was a point where unless you basically had it as a DVD or you pirated it, there is no way that you would be able to watch that film. And I get it, you know, streaming is security, online services is security. security, but at the same time, that really goes to show that, like, if companies want, or for whatever reason, they can basically just take property away from you that you basically paid for. Now, I get it. I'm not going to be some boomer that's like, well, actually, when 28 days later went offline, or when this one game went offline, I had it on disc. I had it on Blu-ray, so I'm actually the alpha. I'm not saying that. I think carrying around plastic to make sure you can actually engage with something is really stupid, unless you're a collector. That is a different kind of autism I'm not going to get into. Now, I'm doing a bit of a tangent here, but focusing more on the video games. Another example, a couple months ago, Ubisoft actually put out a statement that they shut down online activity for a racing game called The Crew. And then they actually said in the statement, unironically, not even as a bit, players should get comfortable with not owning their games. I've seen this statement that gets like parroted a lot online, kind of semi-sarcastically, basically saying, you will own nothing and be happy. I think we're pretty close to that at the minute. Now, I know I sound like a bit of a negative Nelly. Maybe this isn't so many games, but the Stop Killing Games movement actually did an investigation of 700 titles that had some form of online requirement for play, and they found out that 40% of these games are just completely dead. No support from the devs, and they are literally unable to be played. And then another 40% were at risk of being shut down completely. And then only 2% of all of these games that were investigated actually ended up having services that were being supported by the developers using an end-of-life plan, like an actual roadmap. Sounds like I'm talking about someone in a retirement home or something. And then there was another 14% as well, where the community, the players, have actually managed to keep the game up and running by themselves, which, if anything, reminds me like how Bethesda will release games and then the community basically has to do mod patches for them. I know it's not the same kind of thing, we're talking about online play here, but still, I feel like with video games, there is a huge group of people that take it upon themselves to fix a game when it should not be their responsibility. I respect it, I commend it, but it's just sad the situation we're in now. So what Stop Killing Games and Accursed Farms are trying to do is get as much support as possible through as many online signatures as they can. Will this do anything? I don't know. The problem is, it's not like there's a legal requirement here. I know there's some exceptions, like, for example, with the UK government, if, like, something gets so many signatures, Parliament has to, like, at least try to acknowledge it. They don't have to do anything about it. They can just say no. But I think there's, like, some requirement they have to acknowledge it. With this, it's more of the private sector, so they might just look the other way. I think the problem is the only real way to, like, make these companies think, wait, we need to change what we're